Welcome to another episode of Candid Convos, and I'm very happy today's guest is Kellam T. Parks. He is the co-founder and CEO of Parks Zeigler, PLLC, and I'm very happy that I get to meet with you. So thank you for joining us, Kellam.
Sure, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Kellam, so this podcast is usually targeted to lawyers that are looking to understand the different growth path and growth journey that different type of a law firm owners and attorneys have. What can you tell us about your growth journey?
Sure. So I've been practicing law for about 22 years. And for most of my career, I did civil litigation at different firms. I was at a firm with about 30 lawyers, 100 people, and I decided I really wanted to do things a different way. They were a great group of people, great firm, but I just didn't want to be part of a sort of a bigger firm environment at that point. So I looked around. I found a couple of thought leaders in the industry, great legal marketing, some other great people, and convinced me that I could do it. So I started my own firm as a solo attorney back in January of 2012. Had my older sister, Deb, who came with me. I convinced her to move back to our area in Virginia Beach, Virginia. She was my right-hand person. She's still with us now 10 years later. And we just started to grow slowly. I brought in an old friend of mine, Brandon Zeigler, who's the co-owner of our firm now. He bought in March of 15. And we started to grow sort of organically. Like people started to approach us and we had opportunities of look. And we had, then we expanded to the western part of Virginia and Roanoke last year. And we opened our fourth office down in North Carolina in Elizabeth City in January of this year. And so now I think currently we have 14 lawyers and I think 33 total people. So it's been a journey and we're continuing to grow. We've got a couple of offers out to lawyers right now. And it's really sort of our model is to find good lawyers who are not happy where they are, invite them to join us, and then to try to find an established lawyer in another area, geographic area, and then we expand out that way.
Okay, so I like the fact that not only you have plans for expansion, so that you've already expanded successfully. When did you know or do you remember the moment when you made that transition and maybe that like light bulb moment of, okay, now I'm effectively running the law firm as a business? Do you remember when that happened?
Yeah, it's funny. I had that epiphany when I was working at the other firm. That was part of the reason I wanted to leave is that, hey, I really want to do things differently. I want to use I want to be a technologically forward-thinking firm. So I founded as a cloud-based paperless law firm back in 2012, which was really radical, 10 years ago. And it's still actually pretty rare to be mostly paperless as we are now. But, in a larger firm, that's just not the environment. My dad, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My father had owned several businesses, and the last business he owned before he sold it and retired was an automotive repair shop. And so he always, liked to be his own boss. And I didn't think I had that entrepreneurial spirit until I just really realized, I think I want to do things my way and I can't do that in a system. And so when I launched, I knew, but I would say, it became apparent after a couple of years that, hey, if I really want to grow this, the only way to do that is either hire somebody to run the firm or run the firm. And I decided that I wanted to be the guy running the firm. I didn't want to hire a CEO or a CFO. You certainly can hire people to run the business and you can just rainmake and try cases. I just found that I really enjoyed the business side of it. And luckily, when Brandon Zeigler came on board, and we were old friends and had practiced together at two other law firms, we have different strengths. I do marketing, technology, systems, procedures, and he handles the money, the buildings, the sort of procurement of perhaps new talent. And then we obviously get together and we have weekly leadership meetings. We've hired a COO earlier this year to really help us grow more effectively. But so it's kind of a long answer to your question, but it's something that I always sort of had once I figured out. And it's hard and it's a lot of work, but it's more fulfilling to me.
I think as a law firm owner and as a business owner, you've been doing that constantly. Ever since you decided to, I don't know if you hang your own shingle or make your practice your own, it's sort of what defines your company as unique is each time you take one of those decisions. as an administrator, as an owner. So I also believe that helps you mature and see things differently. So you're open to different ideas. You're open to staffing yourself with people that are remote, which back in 2018 was very uncommon. And back in 2021, when the pandemic was on, I know lawyers that worked remotely, but suddenly everything opened up again. And then the office manager had to move for one reason or another. And they couldn't see that they could still work remotely. They were still thinking about how I'm going to do without you when you're going to be so far away, like exactly like you've been doing the last 6 months.
Right. Exactly right. You just need to break out of your boxes. And so one of the personal stories I tell oftentimes is when I got out of school, I thought I was going to be a prosecutor. So I geared my education to criminal law. And then I realized that I probably couldn't afford to be a prosecutor because I had to put myself through school with loans. And so I went to the civil world and I did some insurance defense that I didn't really enjoy all that much. And my mother, unfortunately, became ill. And I was in that impression that you had to be at a firm for 2 years. And if you leave before your 2 years, you'll never get hired again. The folly of a 25-year-old young law graduate. And so I used the opportunity to spend more time with my mother as the quote unquote excuse to leave the firm. And I did want to spend more time with my mom, obviously. I'm actually waiting tables for about 1.5 years at a high-end restaurant, making almost as much as I did with practicing law that first year. And then I went back to practicing law after about 2 years, and it was fine. And one of the main lesson that taught me is that life isn't about boxes. It's not about, you're not locked into anything. And so often people feel like, oh, well, you just have to have an office. Oh, you just, clients are going to expect you to do A, B, and C. For instance, one of my rules for time management is I don't take any inbound unscheduled calls unless it's a judge. If the court's calling me, I'll take that call. But if it's opposing counsel, if it's, it doesn't matter. If it's a client, I'm not accepting the call if we haven't planned it because I want to be prepared. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to be interrupted. And I can't tell you how many times people tell me, well, I can't do that. My clients need to reach me 24/7. I give them my cell phone. They can call me at 2 a.m. That's wrong. You don't need to do that. And so don't accept the accepted, don't accept things at face value. Challenge the system, buck the system, be a renegade. There's always a better way, build a better mousetrap, I like to say.
When the pandemic hit, there were regulations that you had to meet.
Right. So when I started my own firm, it was myself and my sister Deb who came with me. And so that was easy because this is just what we're doing. And then when I went to hire, we hired, I think I hired my paralegal first, and we just simply said, this is the environment we are. Are you comfortable with technology? We'll teach you, but you need to make sure you're not a Luddite or afraid of technology. And that's what we've done ever since is anybody that wants to come on board. And, we were talking to a lawyer, my partner was talking to a lawyer just the other day who we're talking to, and she's an older attorney. And, we said, look, are you comfortable with the paperless cloud-based environment? She's like, well, I don't know how I would do that. I have all this. And all we say is, look, it's very, honestly, it's very easy and you'll find that it really improves your life and will teach you, but you just need to be willing to do it. And look, we've had some attorneys that said they were comfortable with it and it just wasn't a fit. We find out pretty quickly on whether they're going to get on board. The pandemic really was easy for us because everyone internally was used to it. It was just, hey, we're going to ship your computer to your house, secure it, and this is what we're doing. I found dealing with third parties is what was the most difficult. In 2010, when I did it, I have a stock email that I use today where when I get on a case, I send it out and say, hey, I'm paperless. I don't want to get faxes. I don't want to get paper. Can we just do this by email or a cloud service? It was almost a universally no when I first started in 2010. And now it's almost a universally yes in 2022. So I think that and especially, if there's any good thing that came out of the pandemic, which is, hard to say anything, but if anything came out, it was that it's the practice of law has always been very, very slow to change and very backwards and behind the times. It's pushed us forward, I would say, at least a decade of, getting, why should we have to submit a wet signature on a pleading? Why can't we just sign it and email it? Like, why do you need the ink on the paper? That doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing some backsliding. So the Virginia Supreme Court, like a lot of states in the United States did, is they have various orders to deal with the pandemic when the courts were closed or limited people, whatever. And they basically allowed you to have electronic signatures and electronic filing and all sorts of stuff. And now that those orders have expired, some courts have gone back and go, nope, everybody's got to show up for this, for a 5-minute discovery hearing, you need to come down to the courthouse 30 miles away, wait for 4 hours, and cost your client $2,000. Whereas some courts have said, nope, we're going to do it the same way. It's virtual. You'll be in a queue. You can work. We'll ding when it's your turn. It's 5 minutes. And you've just saved your client thousands of dollars and everybody's time. So some are good, some are bad, but at least it's opening the topic. So I think that's really where it's been. Internally, I think we've done a pretty good job. Externally, they're slowly getting there, I think.
Well, coming from someone that got the drop on them 10 years before it happened. So
right. Yeah, I saw it. I mean, well, honestly, Joe, that's why I did, we do a lot of different areas here, but one of the reasons I went to cybersecurity as an actual practice area a couple of years ago is can you imagine more of a growth area? People are scared of personal injury because eventually we're going to have autonomous cars will be the norm. And then what does that look like, right? If it's autonomous, then it's more product liability, not really personal injury negligence. That's going to fundamentally change that practice area. Whereas cybersecurity, it's only going to get more cyber. And that's such a growth area that I dove in and have really enjoyed that area and the success that's it's come with it.
I'm left with one final thought that's just popped up because of our conversation. It sounds easier said than done, but for someone that understands this conversation, I think they know exactly what I mean. What do you need to become a successful business owner, law firm owner, someone that stays ahead of the future? Be a visionary. Now, again, sounds easier said than done, but when you have that visionary role and when you have vision, you're able to accomplish so much. So like you said, it's not about jumping on a trend. It's about staying ahead of it. It's about noticing where change is going. It's about looking for people that or you're going to be a good match with. It's about sharing that culture and finding that you're actually comfortable with that person, being able to do business with them. So many knowledge bumps right now. They just show me the amount of vision that it requires for someone to be a successful leader in my point of view. I don't know if you share the same thoughts.
No, I do. We were, in the last couple of years, I was introduced to Gino Wickman's book, Traction, the EOS system, right? And he uses those phrases is that every business should have a visionary, the person with the ideas and the vision and the concepts. And then every business also needs what he calls an integrator. You need somebody to do to bring it all together and get it done. And then you obviously have to have all your employees and team members, right? People that actually do the day-to-day work. And so my partner and I, for years, we were both visionaries and we were both integrators. And we were very successful. We grew fine. We probably could be twice our size or at least twice as successful, whatever that means, whatever metrics you want to use, had we had a dedicated integrator, because there's only, if you're practicing law and a visionary and an integrator, there's only so many hours. And so we hired our COO in May of this year. And, if we'd hired her 2 years ago, because that's her role, she's the integrator. So Brandon and ourselves at the top are sort of the visionaries. And then she's the integrator. And then we have department heads and everything else. So I agree with you 100%. You can't start a vision. You can't start a business without vision, but you also have to have the people to make that vision a reality.
Exactly. You need someone to ground those ideas, because if not, you keep getting those ideas and it's a never-ending cycle.
Absolutely.
So for everybody that's out there that is more interested in this, just Google Bloom Growth, Traction Tools, EOS, you'll know what we mean. It's a very effective way of working with your leadership and working with your company.
Sure, we love it. And it's step by step. It really is that, it's an easy book to read, and it's literally step by step how to run your company. And I found that it's good for probably up to about 20 to 30 team members. It's very easy, but if you have nothing, start there. And if you're bigger than that, then there's like scaling up in some other books. But you need a system. You can't live in chaos. You got to have something to help you out, for sure.
Exactly. You need some order to bring that chaos into a stale moment. Now, Kellam, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. So thank you for your time. Thank you for showing up. And before you go, please let people know where they can find you and what you can do for them.
Absolutely. So our firm, Parks Zeigler, you can go to pzlaw.com, very easy. We can help anyone in Virginia or North Carolina with almost any legal problem. What I always like to say is just call me. If I'm not it, I've got the guy or gal for you. I'll help you out. And then also, I've also like to tell, whomever is watching this, that I love talking about the business of law and marketing and all that sort of stuff. So even if you just want to reach out and go, hey, look, I really like that idea about traction, can you give me 15 minutes to talk about it? I'd love to. So feel free to reach out to me, through my website, and I'm happy to. I love this stuff. This is what gives me energy, is building other lawyers up and law firms up and helping them succeed like we've succeeded.
Wow. And they ask me why I admire lawyers. I call that a calling. Thank you very
I love
much.
it. No problem, Joe. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thanks for everything, Kellam. Thanks for everything, guys. See you next time.